And the river still shines and shimmers in the light as it did in our grandfather's day, when they rode all night to fish in the morning and lived in Willapa Bay.
Wayne Chimenti will come up. Wayne lives in Marrowstone Island. Very nice place. I've been there myself. Near Port Townsend, Washington. He sailed for over 40 years on tall ships around the world. Wayne is a captain, rigger, and sailmaker, presently running a community boat project which teaches high schoolers boat building and seamanship. Come on up, Wayne. Good to see you.
Good evening, everybody. Has anybody ever organized a festival? Because I can tell you it is a lot of work. And so could we just all together for John today, I mean really, it's like, yeah. I've been coming down here for over 15 years now. And so I thought it was time to do a vintage set. So when I first came down here, being a sailor and not a fisherman, I tried to not talk about sailing too much or my adventures, but just really be an observer of what went on at the Fisher Poets. And so one thing I noticed was that everybody was wearing extra tufts. And so who in this room owns a pair of extra tufts? Could you just raise your hand? Yeah. So, you know, nowadays extra tufts, which used to be just working clothes, are getting kind of trendy. It's like, you know, I come from Port Townsend, up by Port Townsend, and you go in the bars, and all the hipsters are wearing new Carhartts, you know. And if you really want to see it, you go down to Seattle, where they're wearing Filstons. You know that, you know. What used to be a workman's coat, you know, it's now $250 of just waxed canvas. But what I find is that extra tufts, although they are tough, they do wear out. And sometimes they'll just go right at the seams. So somebody one time taught me how to repair an extra tuft. And so now I'm gonna tell you about it. How to repair an extra tuft. Well, you need leather, sandpaper, and contact cement. First, address the extra tuft. Hold it lovingly. Feel its lightness, its beautiful suppleness. It is a work of art. Simple, easy, but oh so strong. Now get the sandpaper. No, not that worn out piece. Why do you keep used sandpaper and so much of it? Could it be that you're used to saving everything? Could it be that in your life, every penny counts? Could it be that random screw, just the right screw in a jar of cast-off leftover bits, could mean the difference between you coming back or not? Anyway, get a new piece of 100 grit sandpaper. You deserve it. Sand that area, much wider than the patch, but sand gently. Sand like you pet your dog when he runs to greet you after a long time at sea, like you stroke the cat that purrs in your lap, while you sit by the wood stove and warm your cold, wet feet, like you stroke your woman's back as you hold her, strong and gentle, just happy to be home alive one more time. Now, cut the leather patch, not rubber. This is a key, leather. Now apply the contact cement, again, wider than the patch. And onto the leather too, and wait. This is the hardest part. Wait an hour. Yes, I know this is the hardest part, because you have always been the kind of person who likes to get her done. You are a person of action. You have got a lot to do. But wait, and wait you must. Go make coffee. Good coffee. You deserve it. Go walk the dog. Go into the woods. Go take a nap. What? Oh, sorry, a nap? That's too much. All right, how about read a book? An hour later, apply again. Oh, that smell. Doesn't that remind you of all head-down PVC head plumbing repairs that you've had to do? Doesn't that bring up memories of bilge coat and never sees and Marvel's mystery oil and all those 1,000 wonderful toxic products that we've had to use? Wait until it's tacky. Dry tacky. Instructions say 15 minutes. Instructions? Oh, I'm sorry, you're not the read the instructions kind of person. Well, stick your finger in it, because I know you are the stick your finger, test it kind of guy. It should feel like paint. You know, paint laid in the day in the spring when the conditions aren't anywhere near right, but you've got to do it anyway because you got to get the boat in the water. You know, the next morning you're going to be leaving the dock, so you test that paint just to see if it's kicked. Yeah, that kind of tacky. Now lay the leather patch on carefully and clamp it. Clamp? How? You'll figure it out. You always have, haven't you? And problems worse than this. I know you have, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Next day, it's complete. A thing of beauty, a handmade repair in a factory-produced world. Now, we know it's not really about the $86, although that buys a short cart of groceries. No, you and that boot, you've been through a lot together, haven't you? Yeah, my friend Dan O'Quinn, he forged the way coming down here. He was the first sailor to crack the Fisher Poets and dragged me down the next year. I sat back as an observer and finally tiptoed up onto the deck here. But anyway, so I was observing that first year, and this is one of my poems that was an observation, sort of Fisher Poets thing. It's called The Last Set in Astoria. The forwards were sitting around the tides in, and the long necks were piling up, shouting to each other to be heard across the din. Well, the set-net poet, he grabbed some greasy paper from under the fries, and he starts scribbling a bulkhead ballad with a bulky carpenter's pencil. The tip of it sharpened with his knife, and it was in his scarred and calloused hand. Damn, nothing rhymes with broke, he mutters. Well, the Yakutat Black Carhartt poet returned. Well, what do you mean? What about joke or choke? You know, my life is a joke. I feel like I'm going to choke. My wife says I'm a big jamoke. And he chortles a little. Well, big blonde extra tough poet scoffs. How many times do I have to tell you it doesn't have to rhyme? It's all about empathy and ironic juxtaposition. No, says the set-net poet. All the good ones rhyme. Yeah, says the Black Carhartt Yakutat poet. And another thing, they gotta make sense. The big blonde waves him off. Come on, schooner boy, we're out of here. I follow her lead. Extra tough tango to the door. And through the fog and the black drizzle of the night we waltzed. We went to the Columbia, to the Voodoo Lounge, to the Wet Dog. Madmen raved about seasons gone bad, killer seasons. Kids whined about lost hardships, virgin seasons and tough old men. Some bars were a rowdy row and some were as quiet as churches. And in some places, folks were stopped dead. Bug a beer, just half-cocked, their jaws slightly open, and they were listening to some desperate phrase. Well, it was getting late, and we were at the Voodoo Lounge, and it was crowded and noisy. Our backs were against the wall. We were between acts. And big blonde poet, she leans in close to me. And through the stale bar scent and the smell of linseed oil stains. I could just detect a faint hint of perfume. And she whispers in my ear so softly, "Would you bait for me? Would you slit bellies, spill guts, and take the heads off for me? Could you handle if I was up top and you were back aft?" Then she eases back a little, and I look into those deep and, for this instant, not so blurry pools. She says, "You know, the trouble with you ragboat guys is you smell more sweet pine tar and high school kids' cologne than you do blood. You don't know the smell of blood, the feeling of slime, and the look of death." And I knew it was over. Dream gone by like the last day of a bus season. Hope, that glimmer that keeps us in the game. Hope, no matter ridiculous, for our fleeting and desperate situations. Hope was gone. That was the last set of a weekend in Astoria. You know, a lot of fishermen come up here, but then you find out later on that most of the season they're teaching high school English somewhere, or, you know, they're a college professor somewhere. So, you know, don't let them all fool you that they're just tough and, you know, don't know anything about poetry. And so what I just did was something, it doesn't rhyme. It's called, what's it called? Free verse. I thought, well, maybe I would try something that rhymed. So I did this poem called Astoria Raving. Oh, it was in late December that I truly do remember, out the window watching another gale amongst the trees. Deep inside I felt a craving. Oh, my soul, it needed saving. What could be this mood that's raving deep inside of me, like something from the ancient sea? Now is when salmon get the notion and they're deep upon the ocean, a moral compass tells them it's time to leave the sea. Tell me, is it eternal mapping that sends their tails a-flapping when river water calls strongly home to thee? Like to me, so revealing, calling strongly home to me, it whispered a place, the key. Now, are you not, my brother seaman, also bitten by this demon when February's darkness and sweet rains fall upon your shore? Like salmon you woke from napping. Legs and limbs become a flapping, and where abound all this thwapping river bound to explore? So magnetically it's pulling strongly at your core. Astoria is the lore. It sits upon the river mouth. Some come from north, some come from south, onto those gray and once deserted streets they do outpour. One weekend woke from yawning like salmon bound for spawning. Many FisherPoets are gathering on this fog-bound shore. Fisher poets, they're coming to this fog-bound shore, to Astoria once more. Each tavern brings with poets that much more, if you know it. There'll be music, stories, shanties woven magic, words of lore. You won't be caught a-napping with all that Fisher poet rapping. You might feel your feet tapping wild upon the floor. Tough souls dancing and prancing, tapping wild upon the floor in Astoria once more. Well, some love to go to bamboo shoot, and others say folk life is quite a hoot, and the Oregon Country Fair is a wild and curious festival to explore. But to us here it's so cheering. Astoria is so damn endearing. So let us raise our glasses, shipmates. Cheering, let us roar. Here's the Fisher Poets once more.
White Maine spruce
grain so even, you can almost hear the music now. Sidewood bent in the water steaming, and the easy slide of a dovetail saw. I learned these skills, but no one taught me. I make guitars that others play. Too much rain and darn long winters, but I love the work of a luthier's trade.
Hey, thanks for taking a minute to talk to us about the FisherPoets Gathering. Can you tell me your name?
Jason.
Jason, why are you here this weekend?
This must be like our 15th one. We've been coming since 2008 from Portland to Astoria to see the poetry.
That is fantastic. So that means you're really enjoying it. You're getting a lot out of it. What would you tell people if they were asking you what it's all about and what they should see?
Absolutely. I'm always recruiting folks to come down because it's very casual, doesn't cost a lot of money. You get to see all the poets you'd like, get to see even more, and it's all walkable. There's plenty of food and plenty of room and lots of voices and 20 minutes, and then you're on to a new artist. So it's been a treat every time. We'll never miss it.
Well, I know we only had the Friday night performances. We haven't had the Saturday night performances yet, but so far, what's been your favorite?
I was seeing a number of great familiar faces, and then I finally ventured out a bit and saying instead of my favorites, I'd see some I didn't know. So last night over at Fort George, I saw Mariah Waterman and thought it was just a home run, each poem of hers. So I hope to maybe track her down or, follow through with my plan to see new artists tonight.
Any tips?
If you just move around a lot and you just open your mind up to something new, you'll always be surprised.
Jason, thank you so much for talking with us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.